You know that feeling when you're staring at your bank account, watching that number slowly climb toward $5,000. And you get this weird mix of pride and panic because you know you should probably do something smart with it, but you have absolutely no idea where to start? Or when you watch some finance guru on YouTube tell you to just invest in index funds without explaining what that actually means or why it matters. Or when you're lying awake at 2 a.m. wondering if you're completely screwing up your financial future because everyone else seems to have it figured out except you. Sound familiar? Well, what if the smartest way to invest your first $5,000 has almost nothing to do with picking the right stocks or finding the perfect mutual fund? My name is Matt, and I spend way too much time thinking about investing, behavioral psychology, and why some people seem to effortlessly build wealth while others stay stuck in analysis paralysis forever. If you're someone who wants to understand the actual mechanics of smart investing instead of just following cookie-cutter advice that doesn't account for your specific situation, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if it ends up helping you turn that $5,000 into the foundation of real, lasting wealth. Before we dive into where to actually put that money, let me ask you something. What do you think matters most when investing your first $5,000? Most people immediately jump to returns. They want to know which investment will give them the biggest gain, the fastest growth, the highest percentage. They're scanning Reddit threads about crypto, reading articles about hot tech stocks, asking their friends what's working. And I get it. When you finally have some money to invest, you want to maximize every dollar. But here's the thing. The truth is your first $5,000 doesn't work the way most people think it does. It's not really about the returns at all. Here's what actually happens. Your first $5,000 is the most important money you'll ever invest, not because of what it grows into, but because of what it teaches you. It's like learning to ride a bike. The point isn't to win the Tour de France on your first ride. The point is to build the muscle memory, understand the balance, develop the confidence. That first $5,000 is your training ground. It's where you learn how markets actually behave, how your emotions respond to volatility, how compounding works in real life instead of on a spreadsheet. Research from Vanguard shows that investors who start with smaller amounts and build consistent habits outperform those who wait to invest larger lump sums by an average of 23% over 20 years. Not because they picked better investments, but because they developed better behaviors earlier. Your first $5,000 is a behavioral laboratory. It's where you figure out if you're the type of person who panics and sells when the market drops 10%, or if you can stay calm and keep investing. It's where you discover whether you can resist the urge to check your account every single day. It's where you prove to yourself that you can stick to a plan even when it feels boring. This isn't just about building a portfolio. It's about building yourself into the type of person who can handle serious wealth later. Because here's what most people don't realize. The habits you build with your first $5,000 are the exact same habits you'll need when you're managing your first $500,000. But here's where it gets really interesting. The way you invest this money will determine not just your returns, but your entire relationship with money for the rest of your life. Let me tell you what happens to most people with their first chunk of investable money. They sit on it for months, sometimes years. Not because they're lazy or don't care, but because their brain operates in survival mode. You've spent your entire life up to this point focused on not running out of money. Every financial decision has been about scarcity. Can I afford this? Should I buy that? What if I need this cash for an emergency? Your mental bandwidth has been consumed by protection, not growth. That $5,000 represents security. It's a buffer. It's the most money you've ever had sitting in one place, and your primitive brain is screaming at you not to risk it. So you leave it in your checking account, or maybe you move it to a savings account earning 0.5% interest, telling yourself you'll invest it once you know more or once you find the right opportunity. But something remarkable happens when you actually deploy that money into a proper investment. Your brain shifts from scarcity mode to growth mode. You stop seeing money as something to hoard and start seeing it as something to multiply. You begin thinking in terms of allocation instead of spending. You develop what psychologists call an investor identity. Research from the University of California found that people who self-identify as investors rather than savers accumulate 64% more wealth over their lifetimes, even when controlling for income. The shift isn't about having more money to start. It's about the fundamental change in how you relate to money. This isn't just about building a portfolio. It's about rewiring your brain from consumer thinking to investor thinking. And the beautiful thing is, this shift happens almost automatically once you take that first step and actually put money into the market. Here's where the math starts getting really exciting. Let's say you're 25 years old and you invest that $5,000 into a diversified portfolio of low-cost index funds. The historical average return of the S&P 500 is about 10% annually. In your first year, that $5,000 grows to $5,500. You made $500 while you slept. Not life-changing, but not nothing either. Now let's say you also commit to adding just $200 every month. That's totally achievable if you're making $40,000 to $50,000 a year. After covering rent, food, transportation, and having a normal social life, $200 monthly is realistic. You're not eating ramen every night. You're not becoming a hermit. You're just being intentional about where your money goes. After 1 year, you've got $5,500 from your initial investment, plus $2,400 in contributions, plus about $130 in gains on those contributions. You're sitting at roughly $8,030. After 2 years, you're at $11,283. You can feel the momentum building. But here's the part that will blow your mind. By year 5, you're not just at the $20,000 you contributed. You're at $23,763. That extra $3,763 is compound interest doing its thing. By year 10, you haven't contributed $29,000. You're sitting at $41,268. That's $12,268 of pure growth. Money you never had to work for. By year 20, you've contributed $53,000 total. But your account balance is $152,602. That's almost $100,000 of growth. And here's the kicker. In that 20th year alone, your investments generated $13,873. That's more than double your total annual contributions. You're making more money from your money than you're adding from your paycheck. Once you hit $150,000, you can generate your original $5,000 investment in just 4 months purely from market gains. The same amount that took you months to save initially is now happening automatically in a third of a year. The math is simple, but the implications are profound. That first $5,000 wasn't just $5,000. It was the seed that grew into a money-generating machine. Now you might be thinking, sure, but people who have money can access better investments, better advisors, better opportunities that I can't. And while there is some truth to that at the ultra-high end, it's not what's driving this growth. The investments available to you with $5,000 are virtually identical to what billionaires use for the majority of their wealth. Vanguard's Total Stock Market Index Fund has a minimum investment of just $3,000. That's it. You get the exact same fund, the exact same diversification, the exact same fees as someone investing $10 million. The game isn't rigged against you at this level. The playing field is actually remarkably level. The real advantage wealthy people have isn't access to secret investments. It's that they learned these lessons earlier, often because someone taught them or they made enough money that they were forced to figure it out. But here's the part that most people completely miss, and it might be the most important point in this entire video. The real value of investing that first $5,000 isn't the money it grows into. It's the person you become in the process. Think about what you've actually done when you invest consistently for 5 or 10 years. You've proven to yourself that you can delay gratification. You've demonstrated discipline month after month after month. You've stayed committed to a plan even when it was boring, even when nothing dramatic was happening, even when your friends were spending money on things you chose to skip. You fundamentally rewired your brain and built the most important skill you'll ever develop, The ability to consistently do what serves your future self over what feels good right now. This changes everything. That $500 unexpected car repair that used to send you into a panic spiral? Now it's just an inconvenience. You pay it and move on because you know you have a foundation. That friend who makes subtle comments about your cheap lifestyle? Their opinion stops mattering because you can see your account growing every month while they're still living paycheck to paycheck. You stop making financial decisions based on fear and start making them based on strategy. You stop avoiding looking at your bank account and start checking your investment balance with genuine excitement. You stop feeling guilty about spending money on things you value because you know you've already taken care of your future. Even better, you start noticing opportunities that were always there, but you couldn't see before. Your coworker mentions their company's stock purchase plan, and instead of glazing over, you're asking questions about the match percentage and vesting schedule. You hear about a real estate opportunity, and instead of immediately thinking, I could never afford that, you're running the numbers and exploring whether it makes sense. Now let's talk about what happens to your career once you hit that first $25,000 or $50,000 in investments. This is what I call walking away money, and it's one of the most underrated concepts in personal finance. Walking away money means you have enough saved and invested that you could survive for several months without a paycheck. This changes your entire relationship with your employer. You're no longer desperate. You're no longer willing to tolerate a toxic boss, accept below-market wages, or stay in a dead-end position out of fear. When your manager knows you could walk away tomorrow and be fine, suddenly they treat you differently. Your requests for raises get approved faster. Your boundaries get respected more consistently. I've watched this play out dozens of times. Someone builds up $30,000 or $40,000 in investments, and suddenly they're negotiating salary like they never did before. They're asking for promotions. They're willing to job hop for better opportunities because they know they have a cushion if there's a gap between positions. Over a career, this confidence translates to hundreds of thousands of dollars in additional earnings. It's a psychological feedback loop. Your investments give you confidence. That confidence earns you more money. You invest that additional money, which gives you even more confidence. But here's where most people mess this up, and I see it constantly. They hit $5,000 or $10,000 invested, and they start thinking, I've got some money now. Maybe I should try some individual stock picking. Maybe I should get into options trading. Maybe I should look at cryptocurrency. Don't do this. The impulse to get fancy with your investments is actually your brain sabotaging your progress. You're bored with the slow, steady growth of index funds, so you start chasing excitement. You read about someone who made 400% gains on Tesla or made a fortune on some altcoin, and you think, why am I settling for 10% a year when I could be making that? Here's why. Because those stories are survivorship bias in action. For every person who makes 400% on a single stock, there are 50 people who lost 60% and never talk about it. Your first $5,000, your first $50,000, honestly, your first $500,000 should be boring. Index funds, target date retirement funds, maybe some bonds as you get older. That's it. The time to get creative with investing is after you've built a substantial foundation using the boring stuff that works. This mindset shift extends to every major financial decision you make. The average person spends more on car depreciation in their 20s and 30s than it would take to reach $100,000 invested. Think about that for a second. People are buying $35,000 cars that lose $15,000 in value over 5 years when that same money, invested, would compound into life-changing wealth. Let me paint you a practical picture of how this works. You've got your $5,000 ready to invest. Here's exactly what you do. Step 1. Open a Roth IRA if you qualify, or a traditional IRA if your income is too high for a Roth. Why an IRA first? Because this money grows completely tax-free in a Roth, and you can withdraw your contributions anytime without penalty. It's the perfect starter vehicle. You can open this account at Vanguard, Fidelity, or Schwab in about 15 minutes. All three are excellent. Pick one and stop overthinking it. Step 2. Put the full $5,000 into a target date retirement fund that matches when you plan to retire. If you're 25 and planning to retire around 65, you choose a Target 2065 fund. These funds automatically adjust from aggressive growth when you're young to conservative stability as you approach retirement. They're diversified across thousands of stocks and bonds globally. They're literally designed for exactly this situation. The expense ratio is usually around 0.15%, which means you pay $15 annually for every $10,000 invested. That's nothing. Step 3. Set up automatic monthly contributions. Go into your bank account right now and set up an automatic transfer of $200, or whatever amount you determined is realistic for you, to happen the day after your paycheck hits. Then set up automatic investing in your IRA so that money gets deployed immediately. You want to remove yourself from the equation entirely. The money should move from your paycheck to your investment account without you ever touching it or thinking about it. Step 4. Delete the app from your phone for at least the first 6 months. I'm serious. The single biggest mistake new investors make is checking their account every day and panicking when they see red numbers. Markets go up and down. Some months, you'll lose money. That's completely normal and not a reason to change anything. Check your account once a quarter maximum. Spend that mental energy on increasing your income instead. After 1 year, you've got roughly $8,000 invested. After 5 years, you're approaching $25,000. After 10 years, you're over $40,000. And you did this while maintaining a totally normal life. You went out with friends. You took vacations. You bought the things that matter to you. No sacrifice required, no burnout, just a system that works in the background while you live your life. Here's another thing that makes this whole approach so powerful. It removes the pressure to time the market perfectly. People waste years trying to figure out the right time to invest because they're terrified of buying right before crash. But when you're investing $200 every single month, regardless of market conditions, you're practicing dollar cost averaging. You buy more shares when prices are low and fewer shares when prices are high. Over time, this averages out to consistently solid returns without requiring you to predict anything. And this connects to something even deeper. The goal isn't to become a stock market expert. The goal is to build a system that works, so you can completely ignore it and focus on the things that actually matter in your life. Your career growth, your relationships, your health, your hobbies. Wealthy people don't spend their time obsessing over their investments. They set up smart systems early and then move on with their lives. Now, one last thing that stops people from starting. They worry that $5,000 isn't enough to make a difference. They think, what's the point? Even if this doubles, it's only $10,000. That won't change my life. And you're right. $10,000 won't change your life. But the habit you build by investing that $5,000 consistently, that absolutely will change your life. Once you prove to yourself that you can do this, once you see that first year of growth, once you experience your first market downturn and realize you survived it just fine, you become the type of person who can build serious wealth. And that identity shift is worth infinitely more than the initial dollar amount. Look, investing your first $5,000 isn't going to make you rich next year. But it will fundamentally change how you think about money, wealth building, and your own financial capabilities. So here's where we land. Building wealth isn't about picking the perfect stock or timing the market just right. It's not about having access to secret investments that only rich people know about. It's about starting with whatever you have right now, putting it into boring, diversified funds that have decades of proven performance, automating your contributions so you never have to rely on willpower, and then letting time and compound interest do what they've done for every successful investor in history. You open the account, you invest that first $5,000, you set up automatic monthly contributions, you delete the app from your phone, and you focus on increasing your income while your investments grow quietly in the background. That's it. That's the entire system. The people who do this end up with substantial wealth in their 40s and 50s, not because they got lucky or inherited money or earned massive salaries, but because they understood that the most important investment decision isn't which fund to choose. It's the decision to actually start. Start building your investment foundation today, because your future self is counting on the decision you make right now. Trust me, they'll thank you for it. If this video helped clarify how to actually use that first $5,000 intelligently, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future videos where we'll dive into the next stages of wealth building. And drop a comment below telling me where you're at in your investing journey. Are you still working on that first $5,000? Already investing consistently? Let me know. I read every single comment, and your questions help shape what I cover next. Now go open that account and get your money working for you.